Hello and welcome to Back of the Net and Beyond, where today I'm going to be speaking to former Arsenal, Man City and Leicester City goalkeeper Stuart Taylor. How you doing, Stuart? You okay?
Yeah, not bad, mate. All good, mate.
Good stuff. How's life treating you at the moment?
Yeah, not too bad. It's obviously tough being in lockdown, isn't it, mate? You know how it is. We're all in the same boat, but no, it's all right. You know, it's obviously spending a lot of time with the kids when you play football. It's obviously you're not with them all the time, and I had times where I sort of lived away from home and that, so I weren't seeing them as much as you sort of want to. But no, if anything, now I'm seeing them too much, mate.
Nah, I know what you mean, mate. I've got two myself, so similar scenario. Obviously, as we all know, sport can take you up and down the country and sometimes abroad, which I've obviously experienced as well. So being on lockdown, it seems just a bit strange because you're kind of at home 24/7 to a certain degree. So yeah, it's just about adapting and obviously making the most of family time and that. But yeah, thanks for coming on the show. For those of you that don't know, me and Stu first met at the FA National School, which is Lillishall, Shropshire, and probably haven't seen each other since. I think we've seen each other maybe once since.
I was going to say.
Yeah, so it's been years, and obviously we were there from the age of 14 to 16. I'm like 39 now, so yeah, it's been many years. But in terms of what I'm doing at the moment, it's basically speaking to athletes, figures within sport, just to obviously make people aware that athletes do have transferable skills which are suited into other industries. Sometimes I feel that athletes do come unstuck when it comes to retirement, and it's seen as a negative for whatever reason. So it's just basically just to get to know your story. We'll touch on your career in brief, and obviously what you're doing now, and obviously how you found approaching retirement. So if you want to just let everyone know, like, what you're up to nowadays in terms of work.
Yeah, but basically, I retired from football, and all I know is goalkeeping. You know, it's something that I've done all my life is play football, and to be honest, there was nothing else I could see myself going into. You know, so the natural progression for me was just to go into sort of trying to help children learn how to play and goal. So, you know, you can go down the route of working for a football club. But I weren't overly keen on going that side, you know. I prefer to sort of help the kids that maybe aren't at that level to try and get to that level. So, you know, obviously you get the coaches that only teach the kids that are at the top level, and I just thought I'd rather go and help like your everyday kids try and get to that level, you know. So yeah, I set up my own goalkeeping school. And I just do small groups of like 6 kids, and just work with them. You know, I do sessions every day, and just work with the small groups and just try and help them progress from like what ages do I do from sort of 7-8 year olds up to sort of 16. And I have a couple of men as well. I have a few men come over to me, like doing one-on-one stuff and bits and pieces. But yeah, it's like quite a big level. But I try and keep the age groups together. It's not a big mixture, and it ends up like, as you know, being in football, if you've got like an 8-year-old trying to train with a 16-year-old, it don't work. So I try and keep the age level and the like the ability level sort of roughly the same, so that it all works smoothly, you know what I mean? So it's going all right at the moment, not bad. I'm enjoying it, you know, because that's all I know. All I know is goalkeeping, football, and that's it, you know. So no, it's good.
That's great, mate. I mean, that sounds amazing. For me, as a youngster growing up, if I was aspiring to be a goalkeeper or a footballer in any way, to have someone who, like yourself, who's played the game, been in and around on a daily basis, high-profile players, to come in and teach, to learn from, it must be amazing for those kids, obviously, seeing you on a daily basis and knowing that they're getting some top-level information from yourself.
Yeah, no, it's one of them. Like you say, I've been around the game a long time. I was in the game sort of 20 years, and I was lucky enough to work with, you know, some of the best goalies about, you know, sort of from a young age, obviously being at Arsenal, and then obviously I I went around a lot of clubs and I worked with a lot of high-profile goalkeepers. So you learn a lot along the way. And for me now, it's nice to be able to pass a little bit of knowledge onto the younger kids. So you know, like I said to you just a minute ago, a lot of the time you're not going to get that sort of that level of knowledge unless you work like you get signed to an academy or something like that. So I just think for the average child out there, if they can if there's something available where they can go to someone that's been in the game and they could try and sort of increase what they know and sort of learn from someone that's been around the game for a long time, I think is obviously a positive, you know. So, and I don't think there's enough of it out there. I just think a lot of footballers these days, they do, if it is what they want to do, they normally go straight into the professional game, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not many out there that sort of will say, right, I'm going to just go and do a thing for everyday kids and sort of help them try and progress. Yeah, obviously you'll see schools out there, whatever, where some people might put their name to it, but they don't actually do the coaching, you know. Yeah. But no, it's something that I just thought, you know, if I can sort of help kids get better, then you know, it's a good thing to be doing. So yeah, like I said, I'm enjoying it, and obviously if the kids can learn along the way, then brilliant.
That's a good point you make, because it's easy for a professional athlete to think, well, I've got this knowledge now, I'm going to go into the professional game and again teach kids who have got an academy scholarship or whatever. But what about the kids who haven't? And it's great that you've obviously catered for those kids, because some of those may not have even thought about being a goalkeeper. It could just be a case of, well, I want to be active. Parents are thinking, well, let's get the kids out of the house, off the iPad and whatever else. And then before you know it, the kids excelling in goalkeeping and then maybe excelling at school as well. So you're not only helping them on the field, you're potentially helping them off the field mentally and physically as well. So that's a massive thing. In terms of your kind of retirement process, how did you find it? And what was the thought process behind it? Was there like a trigger point where you thought, right, I've had enough? Or
it was funny. I sort of retired twice. It was a funny one, because I was, like I say, a long time in the game, and then it got to a point where I was at Leeds. I was signed for Leeds, and I went there sort of thinking, like you always do. You go, you think, right, I'll get a chance to play. Didn't end up working out. I thought, well, at Leeds at the time, they had the chairman where it changed. I think every 2 months we had a different manager. So when I initially went there, it was sort of to play, and then I think after something like a couple of months, he was gone. So things changed, and it was just constant change all the time. But I've done the year at Leeds. Didn't really work out how I wanted it to be. I ended up playing the last part of the season. Neil Redfern ended up becoming the manager. He was a fellow who'd worked at the club for a long time, ex-professional footballer. He took charge. It wasn't going too well, and we had a lot of Italian boys at the time, because the chairman was Italian. He brought a load of Italian boys in. Wasn't going too well, and then we had a load of like English boys that had been around the game quite a long time. And he threw us all in towards the end of the season, and we started to creep up the table a little bit. We was like down by the relegation zone. We started to creep up a bit. End of the season come, and I was thinking, no, I'm playing now. I'm in the team. I thought next season I can kick on from here now. I thought I should be in the team playing whatever else. End of the season come. The chairman got rid of the manager. All players that were out of contract, see you later. And so you go from thinking, oh, here we go, it could be like a little break from here, like getting a team, start playing. And then it was like back to square one. And to be fair, at that point, I just had enough. I was a bit like, I can't believe this is happening again. You know what I mean? Every time I seem to get that chance to get in and play, it just fall apart. So I I decided, I thought, right, I've had enough. Knocked it on the head. And I come home and I'd always thought to myself about starting a goalkeeping school up. I thought, well, at whatever point I retire, I'll start a goalkeeping school up. And exactly what I've said to you, I thought I want to do my own thing where I'm helping normal kids. You're not like going to a club, you're not doing anything like that. So I thought, right, I'll find somewhere to do it. It'll take me 10 minutes to find somewhere to like, but make a phone call. I'll find somewhere. I'll either buy a bit of land. There's so much land here, there, and everywhere. I thought, that's easy. So I spoke to a fella from the national school. I spoke to Martin Thomas, the old goalkeeper coach. And I said to him, like, how does it work? And he was like, look, if you're going to go into the football clubs, you got to do this badge, that badge, this badge. He was like, you know, and then you start at the bottom of the pile, like, and he said it's more paperwork. He said you'll do outside on the pitch. He said you'll do 2 hours work. He said, and then you'll do sort of probably 6 hours paperwork. He said, and I wouldn't have thought that's going to be for you. And I was like, no, I said that won't. I said, no, I said, that's definitely not down my street, that. So he went to me, I said, how does it work if I want to open my own thing up? And he was like, you don't have to do nothing. He said, you can just work off of what you've learned through your sort of 20 years in the game. He said, if you want to open it up, he said, you just open it up off your own back. And he said, and you can sort of crack on, you know what I mean? So obviously you do all your first aid bits and all your sort of bits and pieces like that. But as in terms of the coaching side of it, he was like, if kids want to come and learn from you, they can come and learn from you. So yeah, I thought, right, brilliant. I'll get this all set up. And looking for land, looking for a place to sort it out. It went on. And I did find it tough because like, I thought, this is going to be an easy transition from the play. Within a couple of months, I'll be up and running, sorted. And it didn't work out like that. And I found it very hard because obviously I was still in a state where I could still play. You know, my body felt good, and I could still play. I was sort of watching football on telly, and I'm thinking I can still do that, and it was started beating me up inside. You know what I mean? It was sort of it started to mess my head a little bit, and then you do start to get a little bit depressed. And like my missus was always like, she was like, you know, you just like you need to just like calm down a bit because I'd get angry. I'd get the ump. I'd like start. You know, you get the ump with the kids and no reason. And it was like a build up of everything. I think I thought I was just going to go from football straight into the coaching. It'd all go smoothly. And then I ended up sort of sitting at home for a year, and you get stuck in a rut. And I was at home day in, day out. Find yourself getting up with no real point to life, really. You know, you have day in, day out structure, which you do when you're in football. You're up, you're into football, you do your training. From your training, you might go in the gym, do your exercises, you come home, you rest, you're ready to go again for the next day. And then all of a sudden I was at football and I just had nothing. And the first 2 months was fine because, like I said to you earlier, I wasn't with my family. I was living away from home, and you sort of, it's lovely the first few months. You're with your kids and you're with your missus, and it's brilliant. And then all of a sudden, that first 2 months goes by where it's lovely, just relaxing, sort of thinking, I can just chill for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, right, I want to do something now, and I had to do. And I did. I felt like I started to sort of lose the plot a little bit, and it's like now, obviously now I'm up and running. It's my missus sort of like, she said to me, she went, I think you was a bit depressed sort of thing. She was like, I think it was getting to you a lot. And to be honest, looking back at it now, I probably was, because I found it very hard to sort of just to motivate myself. I just find myself just sitting watching the telly day in, day out. I didn't want to do nothing, and you just get stuck in a rut, you know. And it was hard, but luckily for me, I didn't find nowhere to set up. Like say I was struggling, and out the blue, I got a phone call from Joe Hart, one of my teammates at Man City, And he was like, Stu, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm doing nothing, mate. I said, I'm sitting at home. I said, I'm bored. I said, all I do is literally go in the gym, like sit and watch the telly all day long, go in the gym, and come back out the gym and just sit and watch telly all day again.
Yeah.
And he, do you want to get back into football? And I said, it all depends, mate. I said, I just don't see what would be out there, you know. And he was like, look, he said, Southampton, he said, they've had a few problems. He said, and they need like a third choice goalkeeper. He said, like, do you want to go along for like let them have a look at you? So I was a bit like, I've not touched a football for a year. I said, I don't even know if I can still catch a football. Do you know what I mean? And and he was like, well, why don't you just go along and just see what it's saying? So I got a phone call from Dave Watson, who was, at the time, I think he was the England goalkeeper coach. I think he still was, and that's how obviously Joe Hart knew him. And he was like, look, do you want to come down? I explained it all to him. He said, look, I've done nothing. I said, I'm in half decent nick body-wise. I said, but I don't know, like, as in terms of you're a Premier League team, I don't know if I can still do that after being out for a year, you know?
Yeah.
He went like, come down, whatever. I went down there, and well, to be fair, it's like they say, it's sort of like riding a bike, isn't it? You know, when you've done it for a long time, you get back to it quick, you know. And to be fair, it was a bit of a lifeline for me. I trained for a week with them, and they was like, yeah, we want to sign you. So it was massive for me, you know what I mean? Because God knows what would have happened to me, because, you know, I was drinking a lot at the time, because, you know, I like a drink anyway, you know. It's one of them geezers. I like a drink, and I'm not gonna say I don't. I do enjoy a drink, and like I say, you're sitting at home, and I started to drink more and whatever else, and like I said, I was just stuck in a bit of a rut, and it come at such a good time for me, you know what I mean? I went down there, they gave me a year's contract. I done the year, and then they offered me another year, because they was happy with what I was doing, so I done another year, and I was still felt good. I felt good, like, in terms of the goalkeeping, and basically why it all stopped was because, in all honesty, I went there basically. It was more to get me out. Like you say, I was stuck in a rut. I wanted to go and do something, and I wasn't being paid particularly well. You know, I went because I love the goalkeeping side. That, like I say, that's all I know is goalkeeping, and for them to give me the opportunity to go there, it weren't really about the money side of it. It was just to sort of get me doing something and get me out the house, really, and back doing what I love doing. So they gave me the contract, and they said to me, if you do well, we'll give you a pay rise. And like I said to you, they offered me another year, and they didn't give me a pay rise, but I thought, fair enough, I'm enjoying it, I'll stay. And then they offered me the next year after, and I said, look, I'm living away from home. I said, I'm not with my missus, I'm not with my kids. I said, like, I feel like you need to make it worth my while a little bit to sort of, I said, like, I've enjoyed my time, I appreciate what you've done. I said, but, you know, I was sort of getting paid I was basically getting paid what an 18-year-old was that was out on loan.
Wow.
So they basically brought me in and just paid me what he was getting paid. So, and, you know, when I got there, I think they realised what I brought to the changing room, and as in terms of, you know, like where I'd been and my experience, and what I sort of brought to the dressing room and with the lads and about the place, and I think they liked me being around. I think they thought, God, this is a good person to have about, you know, around the group. But then, like you say, you sort of, after 2 years of being paid like an 18-year-old, you think, right, come on, like, I feel like I'm being taken the mickey out of it now. Like, if you stay another year, like, come on, give me like a little bit of a pay rise, just like show a little bit, like a little bit back. But and they kept saying, yeah, we're going to sort it, we're going to sort it. and it never come. And I think they thought I was just going to be happy to just keep going and going and going. And I had to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it no more. You know, it's like I worked hard. You know, I went in every day. I was the first in and I was the last out every day. It was I worked really hard, and I just felt like I weren't sort of getting that bit back from the club. You know what I mean? I felt like I was doing quite a lot around the dressing room, and I was quite a big presence in the dressing room, and a lot of the lads liked me there, and I just felt, you know, do I just keep doing this for nothing? Yeah, and I thought, you know, different. You know, if you're doing something, and my kids are going to gain from it in the future, if it's going to make their future better and whatever else. But I thought it's not really. I thought I'm missing out on a big part of their lives, and I'm not really getting nothing back for it. So it got to the point then, and I thought, right, I've had a little think about it. I still wasn't set up with a goalkeeper school, but I thought, right, I learned from last time, you know what I mean? I got really down and whatever else. I thought, right, I can't be like, I know what's coming. And I thought, I've got to deal with that, you know what I mean? So I thought, right, I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna knock it on the head, and then try and get it sorted. And like I said, I did. I stopped, and then I found somewhere to set up, and then it just progressed from there, you know. And to be fair, like you say, I haven't gone into it to sort of dominate the world or nothing like that. I've literally gone in to sort of just do a small scale football school where I'm hoping I can offer a service which is a good service to help kids out there of all abilities, you know. So whether it's a kid that is a very good goalkeeper coming to me, or if it's a kid that never played football before, you know, I'm trying to help people from all sort of levels. And like you say, to be fair, I've gone into it and I've enjoyed it, you know. It's been good, so I can't really complain. But you know, it weren't without its ups and downs and all that from sort of like a transition into the coaching side of it. It was tough. It was tough.
I mean, obviously, so you talked briefly about kind of your experience leading up to that point. Did you get enough help? Like, did you get any help? I know you said you spoke to Mr. Thomas, the goalkeeper that we used to have at Lillishall and stuff. But aside from that, did you get any help from anyone else, like former teammates or people that you know outside of football who run their business, or any organisations within sport in general?
I don't know. Like, it's like anything. I think looking back at it now, I think I probably was depressed, but at the time you deny it, didn't you? You sort of, my missus would be like, what's the matter with you? Like you think you should speak to someone. And I was like, oh, shut up, you know, like you end up getting young, like, leave me alone, shut up, you idiot, go away. And like, you do get like that. And I think you just deny it, and you just try and get on as well as you can, you know. You just sort of try and get through it. Just think, right, something will come up eventually, you know, it'll sort itself out. And but like you say, luckily for me, it was sort of the like Joe Hart giving me that phone call, and Southampton that sort of did. And you know, it's probably looking back now, you think if it had gone on a lot longer, you don't know what had happened. You know what I mean? You just don't know. But to look back at it now, I probably could have done with sort of sitting down, talking to someone, and probably just chill you out a little bit, and just try and help you like with your head and that. But yeah, it's I've never been one of them. I'm quite poor in keeping contact with people. You go from club to club to club to club, and you know, you meet so many brilliant people, you know, along the journey, but you lose contact. You know, normally, like, you leave a club, and I'm one of them. I like texting people. I'm not a phone call person. I don't do phone calls, and there'll be a lot of people that want a phone call, you know, and you end up losing contact with people because they don't want to text you back and you don't want to phone them. So you end up just drifting away, you know.
It ends up being a stalemate. I was talking about this the other day because I'm pretty much the same. Like, obviously, you meet loads of people whilst you're playing, and when you leave, it's like, we'll catch up on that, and then before you know it, you're immersed in your club that you're with, and then you've got a new set of teammates and you're concentrating on that. So you just end up losing track of people.
Yeah, of course. And it's the same. Like now, I've met so many fantastic people along the way, but it's where you end up settling as well, isn't it? You know, like some of my friends that I've met that are really good friends of mine in football. I've only got an handful of people that I still sort of speak to, but they're scattered all around the country. And it's, you know, it's like you say, Manchester, sort of like Bournemouth way, and sort of like all over the gaff. And it's not as if they're just around the corner. It'd be lovely if they was living around the corner to me. Then it's, isn't it? But that's not how it is in football. You know, you come from here, there, and everywhere, and obviously when you end up settling with your family it's not always going to be next door to one of your mates you play with, is it? You know, so no, it does get hard, and I'm like you say, I'm not the best for keeping in contact, so it's a bit of a struggle. But yeah, so I didn't really end up speaking to anyone or nothing like that sort of when I was sort of.
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned obviously you had a plan. So in your head, you're thinking, right, been a goalkeeper, been a successful one for 20 years or so, and your mindset was, right, I want to set up a goalkeeping coaching academy. So you had that already kind of in your head, but you still found kind of the process quite hard to deal with. So if you put that alongside someone who has played football, maybe been successful or not, or played another sport and maybe been successful or not, and then when it comes to retirement, they haven't got anything to kind of say, not fall back on, but any process to think, well, I've done this and now I want to do this. It's potentially going to be a lot harder for that person as well, aside from their personality. Now, you think, because I personally think, from a sport perspective, not just football, because obviously we've been footballers, so we always relate back to that naturally. But sport in general, I think more needs to be done with athletes, whether it be an early stage or towards the latter or in the middle, whereby like there's something in place for them to do afterwards. So about all the organisations that are out there, whether they're in sport or not, if they came together, speaking to someone the other day who I interviewed, if they came together as like a consortium and said, right, we'll put together a package, different packages for different type of industries, with an avenue for a sports person to maybe go through stages, say, look, right, I've done that stage, now I'm on to this one, there's a certificate and whatever else to prove you've done it. And then at the end, you've not just got the certificates which are going to be potentially collecting dust on the mantelpiece, but an avenue into an industry. If that was in place, I think more athletes would go down that route. I certainly would have done. The reason why I didn't really go into, say, coaching is because you can do all the coaching badges in the world, but it doesn't necessarily give you a job at the end of it, especially for someone like me who is a household name. So I knew for a fact, after spending, a year or two doing coaching badges and getting to a level, what would I then do? I'd have to potentially go for an interview, and then I'd need someone to give me a job, and then I'm going to be pitting my wits against 10, 15, maybe more other people who may be more skilled or more high profile who are potentially going to get the job. So I'll be just in that situation where I'm looking for a job. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of people are put off by that process. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I exactly like what you're saying. I suppose if there was something in place, I think it's so tough when you're in football. I think you're just one track minded. You know, you want to be as best as you can be, and I think something like me personally, I would never have sort of sat down and started doing like a degree or something like that. I just it never. I don't know. I could never have just finished training and come home and started digging my head into books and started like sort of schoolwork. I just could never get my head around doing something like that. But a goalkeeper that I recently worked with, Fred Ballstar, he was doing a lot of like degrees and bits and pieces, and I, you know, hats off to people like that, you know, that can sort of do their football, work hard, and then go home, and then like, you know, it's mentally tough, isn't it? You know, football's mentally tough. You know, sort of to get through. You know, a lot of people don't see that side of it, but it is because there's a lot goes on in football, and it's very and it's very tough. And like I said, a lot of people they watch it on telly and think, oh, it's the best job in the world. It's the you know, you get paid a fortune for doing nothing. But you know, actually in football's a different ball game to what you sort of see on the telly. understand that, what goes on. But I, with Fraser, I used to think, oh, you know, for you to like do what you do and then go home and then be doing a degree or whatever he was doing. I'm not sure what he was doing. I think it was to do with law or something like that, because I think his dad was a barrister or something, and I think he was sort of trying to go do the same sort of like qualification, whatever he was doing. But I thought to myself, it takes a lot to be able to do all your goalkeeping and all the stress and pressure that comes with that, and then go home and then sit and dig into books and sort of be studying and you know. But later down the line, I suppose, although footballers of today, you know, if you're playing at that level, he's not going to need the money, you know what I mean? If he looks after it and he does the right things, he's not going to need that money to sort of go and have to get that job. But at the same time, like what I've said, when you finish, you've got to do something, regardless of how much money you've got. You've got to do something. You've got to keep yourself ticking over, because, like you say, mentally, you go mad. You go mad if you're not. I think you get stuck in that rut, and before you know it, you're losing the plot a little bit. And so much as he might not need the money, it will be something that he can fall back on and sort of go into a different field and you know, do whatever he needs to do. But I think if it's explained more to people, more people may take it up. You know, if they said, look, you know, you can do this, and like you say, if you sort of explain to people, you know, it's not going to be ridiculous hard work. It's just like an hour or two every day, like in the evening, just, you know, just do this, and you gradually just plug away at it. And at the end of it, you'll have a few qualifications behind you. And then if anything does happen, like you say, it's something to fall back on. I think people, if they heard it from professionals that had been through the game and then they've finished and they've got nothing, and professionals that have come out of the game and they don't know what they're doing, maybe, like you say, maybe people might take that sort of choice and say, well, yeah, I will have a go at that. But I know personally for me, when I was playing football, that was all I was bothered about. You know, I'd give it my all, and I'd knock my nuts out every day and sort of try to just get better every day, because obviously that's the goal was to be the best I possibly could and to play at the highest level I could. And you know, some people that look at me and say, yeah, but you know, you weren't playing week in, week out. But from a young age, where I got thrown in at Arsenal, sort of when I was sort of third choice, and then you end up playing 10 games in the Premier League and winning a Premier League medal, you sort of, from a young age, you know that things can change like that.
I see,
and I think that made me sort of, you know, you can never switch off. You've always got to be on top of your game, and you've got to be working. And although from when I left Arsenal, it never really happened, as in terms of you just get dropped in. I'm one of them people that I just can't sort of toss it off, you know what I mean? I can't just train. I'm there, I'm giving 100%, I'm working hard, and if I'm working within a training session, I still want to be the best goalkeeper. Whether I'm working with David Seaman or I'm working with Joe Hart, I want to be the best goalkeeper in that training session, you know what I mean? And that's just how I always was. But I just, for me, it just, I couldn't have gone home and then sort of dug me into some books and started studying that. I couldn't have done that personally, you know. But maybe, like I say, if you said to someone, it could have been different if I had someone sitting there going, look, this is what's happened to me. But I think at the same time as well, you don't always, you just think everything's going to be rosy, don't you? You sort of, you finish playing football, and like I said to you, you just think it's just all going to roll in, and it's just all, that change is just going to be so smooth and easy. And it's not like that, you know?
Yeah. I think as well, I mean, you make a good point. I think that because, especially when we were growing up, so we're talking like 15, 20 years ago, when we were like new in the game, everything around retirement seemed negative to me. So when we had people from different organisations talking to us, it was always about facts and figures. So it was never like, oh, we want you guys to make it and make it to the highest level. But if you don't, don't be disheartened because you can always do X, Y, and Z afterwards. It was
Yeah.
always, right, you guys are here, but there's only going to be 1% that are going to make it. And then if you don't, then what are you going to do? And it's like, I've just come off the training pitch and Martin O'Neill's telling me that I'm going to be competing with Steve Guppy, who basically just got in the England squad. So I was 18
Yeah.
at the time, so I was well regarded at Leicester City. So if he's telling
Yeah.
me that and he's a high profile manager and I know I'm doing really well, playing in the reserves every week, blah, 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 and then I've got some external person coming into the club, all well and good, they're there with good intentions, but the delivery was wrong. And I always thought, I didn't really want to hear it. I understood obviously the parameters behind how hard it was to make it as a professional, but I was always focused on making it. And then I got to a certain age where I thought, wow, 23, 24, and I was thinking, if I don't make enough money to then maybe start my own business or just relax and not do anything, then I'm going to have to work. So I always had that mindset anyway. And I think that helped me when it came to like retirement and the transition. But in terms of, like you said, going home from training, I just wanted to relax or just go and chill with my friends or family. I didn't want to have to go and study, and that's just me. Everyone's different. So anyone that's doing it, I mean, I had teammates who were doing it, and I commend them. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't right for me. So there's no right or wrong process. So whenever they came in, it was always a kind of negative, but in the sense that, okay, percentage-wise, not many are going to make it. But at the same time, it was like, you should do this. It was never like, do what's right for you. It was always, you should do it. And it was like, I didn't want to feel pressured into doing something.
Mm.
So it's a tough
Yeah, no, it is. And I just think, I suppose the more people talk about their sort of times coming out of football and that sort of transition, I suppose the more people might look into it and sort of think, well, yeah, maybe it is something I need to look into and sort of maybe take it a little bit more seriously, like doing the studying side of it while you're in the game, you know, because like I say, football don't last forever. It can very quickly, you know, injuries and bits and pieces. You can be on fire and be on top of the world, and then all it takes is one tackle to sort of break your leg or something like that, and it can finish you. So as much as everything can seem so rosy, it does change quickly. But I just think, I don't know, when I was young, I believed I was going to be a footballer, and there was nothing that was going to change my mindset. It was, I want to be a footballer, I'm going to be a footballer.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted. I not at any point did anything come into my mind to say, well, I'm sort of doing that, I'm going to study as well, because it just didn't interest me. You know, when I was at school, it didn't interest me, because, like I say, all I wanted to do was be a footballer. And as far as I was concerned, nothing was going to stop me. You know what I mean? So it's, but you know, that was my one-track mind. But at the same time, it's not really the reality of it, you know, because it's only looking back. I think one of the lads, when I was at Southampton, I think he said something like homegrown players going into football, I think it's something like 0.001% make it, something like that, 0.01%. It's something ridiculous, like actually get to the top level. So it's looking at that, no, you have got to take it a little bit more seriously, like the off the pitch sort of the side of it, you know.
Yeah.
But
sometimes as well, it's not just about getting to the top; it's about getting there and staying there. So people like Gerrard and Lampard and Beckham and people like that. Obviously, there's a lot more as well. You have to look at them and think it's just ridiculous. Sometimes it gets underestimated how hard it is. It's fine getting there, because if you look at it, how many players have, even myself included, maybe debut in a Prem and whatever else, and then not kind of seen again. And you can still have a successful career lower down the leagues, and sometimes once you go down the lower league, it's harder to get back up. But to get to the level of like Carragher, you make your appearance and then you kick on from there and you continue in the team every year, year in, year out, and then 15, 20 years down the line, they've just made like, what, 400, 500, 600 Premier League games. And it's like, people from the outside don't necessarily understand or realise how hard it is to do that and sustain it at that level. Week in, week out, training, off the field, on the field. It's mentally and physically tough.
Yeah, it is. It's massive, and you know, being at big clubs as well. they're always bringing people in to try and take your position. I know when every club I've been at, like, you know, and like you say, you'll know as well. You'll be at a football club, and trialists are coming in all the time. So they're always looking for someone to sort of that's better than you to take your place. And like you say, you've got to stay on top of your game to sort of fight them off, you know. And that's how it is. And exactly what you said about the players that have sort of stayed at the top. They're about to deal with that as well, you know. There'll always be trialists coming in. They'll be looking. There'll be, like you say, the scouting systems at clubs. There'll always be people thinking like, right, can we bring him in and get rid of him and get him out? And but like you say, it's a lot tougher, like you say, than what people realise to stay at the top. And it is. It's mentally, it's draining. Physically, you've got to be at the top of your game all the time. It really ain't easy. But yeah, there's, like you say, there's enough players that sort of can do it, and not only that, it's the off the side, off the pitch stuff as well. Like a lot of pressure off the pitch that come with it, and all the sort of media and all the bits and pieces that come with it. It's that pressure of it all as well can be tough as well. So
family life, family life.
Yeah. There's, like you say, there's loads of stuff. Like you say, you have so much going on like a normal person. You know, I think a lot of people just think, oh, you play football, you're a footballer, but you're still a person. You know, you still have all the same problems like a normal person does. Like you say, off the field, sort of with whatever relationships and bits and pieces, and with your kids, and you know, you still have it all going on. But I just think a lot of people that, like say, they turn the telly on and they just go, oh, look at these footballers, that they earn fortunes. Oh, life, it's all simple.
Turned up and played.
It's not. I mean, it's like you say. You sort of, a lot of these sort of fans, they'd probably sort of have a couple of weeks in football if they was in the shoes of some of these big players and think, oof, not like this. You know what I mean? So it's
just sometimes as well. I think you need a lot of luck, but a lot of it's out of your hands. You can do all you can, and sometimes the simple thing like a new manager comes in and your face just doesn't fit, or you don't fit into their style of play. It happened to me many times. You've gone from being up here, first name on a team sheet, and then next minute, new gaffer comes in. He brings a couple of players that he's worked with before. You play in your position, regardless of how well you train or play, you're just not going to get a look in. So that's an extra factor that you can't do anything about.
No, it's I've had that a lot as well. I've had it. You sort of, whether it's through your face don't fit or whether it's injuries, and you know, you get in the team. I was playing at Arsenal. Sort of, they brought Richard Wright in when David Seaman was there. They both got injured. I played, and then I was in the team. I was doing really well, and sort of Arsene Wenger had sort of basically said, "Keep playing. You know, you just keep playing. I'm happy to leave you in." And I was playing, and then in training, broke my finger, and then you're back out the team, and then all of a sudden you go from sort of the number one goalkeeper playing to all of a sudden you're out for 3 months or whatever it is, 2 months, and then you've to the back of the queue again. You know, that's life. That is football, and that's sometimes tough to deal with. You know, you sort of go from playing week in, week out, and then all of a sudden, like that, you're at the back of the queue again, you know, waiting for your chance. And like you say, as a goal, chances don't come around very often. You know, as an outfield player for someone like yourself, you get a few more chances. You know, like you can, in games, you might get if you're not starting, you might get the odd 10, 15 minutes where you might think, well, I can get on and I can show I can do it. I know it ain't long, 15 minutes or 10 minutes, but, you know, I might get the ball a couple of times and I might get the fans going a little bit, and they sometimes make me think, you know what I mean? Oh, he might be worth giving a little start to. But as a goalie, it's all or nothing, really. You know, it's very rare that sort of goalkeepers do get injured. It was only when I was young, where David Seaman was getting old, and obviously he was picking up quite a lot of knocks at the time, and you sort of you get the chances to go in and play. But sort of, I made the choice to sort of move to Aston Villa. I had a year left on my contract at Arsenal, go to Aston Villa. And I thought, right, my career will kick on now. And I had the goalkeeper coach there at the time, was phoning me all the time. We really want you, you've got to come.
Mm.
I ended up going. They basically said to me, the goalie that was there, they said, as soon as he makes a mistake, you're in and you're going to be playing.
Really?
And I was like, brilliant. That's what I need. You know what I mean? At this stage in my career, I've been at Arsenal. I've got a taste for it. But obviously, David Seaman was there. Like he was the number one, and then he finished. And then there was like a little bit where I thought I might get like a chance to go in, and then eventually they ended up bringing Jens Lehmann in, and it sort of, that was pretty much as if to say, right, you know, he's our number one now. So I thought to myself, right, time to move on. I moved on, and like I say, they told me you're going to get your chance to play. I remember during the season I was sitting on the bench. The goalie coach turned around to me. The goalie made a mistake. He went, "Get yourself ready. You're playing next week." And I was like buzzing. This is my chance. I'm playing. Next week come round, named the team. I weren't in the starting lineup. Oh, don't need this. Yeah. He played again, and he had a stinker again. Goalkeeper coach turned around to me again and went, "You're playing next week. This is why the game's going on." So, and that's hard to deal with, you know what I mean? And then the same thing happened. Next week went by, starting lineup. I think, right, I'm playing this week. It happened to me last week. Can't happen again this week. I'm definitely going to be playing. Starting lineup, I'm not playing again. And I just thought, oh my God. Like,
that's demoralising, Stu, because obviously especially when he's turning around on the bench in front of the other players saying you're going to be playing next week, it's demoralising if it doesn't happen, because you must be thinking, well, if I'm doing well in training and the keeper's having a stinker.
I was on fire as well. Yeah. I was on fire. I'd gone and because I thought, like, this is going to be the defining. I'm going to kick on now, and I'm going to sort of like be playing every week. And I was on fire in training. And then that happened to me twice, and that's the first time and probably the only time in my career where I tossed it off a little bit. And I was a little bit like, I feel like I'm wasting my time. I feel like I'm pulling up trees in training. I'm doing really well, waiting for my chance. You keep telling me I'm going to get my chance. Yeah. And then it's coming. So I switched off a little bit. And then, like it always does, it went on for a little bit. I was on the bench, carried on. And then the goalkeeper that was playing at the time, it was we was playing Man City away at the stadium, and the goalie got he was in the warm up and took a cross and hurt his back, and it was literally probably about 10 minutes before the game kicked off. It was right at the end of the warm up. Yeah, and he like, I can't play, and I was a bit like, all right, fair enough. You know, no worries. Don't panic. Just get on with it. I know what I can do. Yeah. You know, I believe in the ability, whatever else. But I went out. I played. I had an absolute stinker, and that was that. You know, like that chance I'd been waiting for. Yeah. That if it had come when I was sort of chomping at the bit, ready to go, it could have all been different. And then, like, I sort of switched off for a little while. And then, don't get me wrong, I didn't have a warm-up. I literally had 5 minutes to sort of catch a couple of balls, and then I went and changed that. But that's no excuse, you know what I mean? You can't use that as an excuse, but that was the reality. It happened. I had a stinker of a game. And then that's you. You know,
you're back that or not?
And that's it. Do what?
Did you play after that or not?
I played, then... Not under that manager. Then another manager come in. Who it was Martin O'Neill actually. He come in. Yeah. And I wasn't playing, and then the number one at the time got injured, and then I went in the team, and I played, and I stayed in the team. Same there, was doing well. And exactly the same happened to me. What happened at Arsenal? I tore my meniscus in a cup game. Yeah. And then basically the number one choice at the time, Thomas Sorensen, he had torn his meniscus as well.
Mm.
So he had been out a little while. I'd played a few games. Then I tore mine, and it was basically a race against time who could get fittest, the quickest to get back in playing. And basically, because he had been out a good sort of month or so before I'd done mine, he got back fit quicker than me, and then he was back in the team, and you're back to square one again. And it's tough, you know. It is like football with injuries and that, and the timing. And like you say, if your face don't fit, and there's a lot of things that go on, and it does make it sort of difficult. But like you say, that is football. That's football. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, you just got to sort of deal with it and just wait for that next opportunity and hope that you've worked hard enough and you're ready for that opportunity and it all goes well. You know.
Yeah. I mean, from the outside looking in, some people may not have heard like anything like this before. I mean, I've heard it because we're obviously in the game, so we know these things can happen and how they happen. For me though, because obviously I know you as a player and you were a top keeper. For me, you should have had like way more appearances in the Premier League, especially. But that's just life. That's just football. But it must have been frustrating from your perspective because obviously you know your own ability. Perfect specimen for a keeper. What, 6'5", 6'6", lean. Can get down. You can obviously make a save, come out and claim the ball as well. So for me, from the day I saw you at Lilleshall, because at Lilleshall, we'll touch on Lilleshall later on, but I always had a group of players who I thought like defo going to make it. So for me, it was you, Scott Parker, Lee Cannival, Francis Jeffers, and a few others that maybe I thought would make it but didn't for whatever reason. And that just goes to show things can happen. But again, you're going to all these clubs, most of them on loan and whatever else, top clubs as well, like Palace. Obviously, you mentioned Villa, played for, and you went on loan to Cardiff and various other clubs as well. So you're always kind of on the bench. How did you deal with that, like from a mental perspective?
Like I said to you early on, from the word go, I think from being a young lad and sort of being third choice and then getting thrown in at the deep end, playing for Arsenal, sort of, and they're top of the league and they're trying to win the league. It was big pressure from a young age. You know what I mean? It was literally sink or swim. You know what I mean? The sort of the manager, fair play to him. You know, Arsene Wenger. I was a young lad, and he gave me the opportunity to play. He could have well said, "Look, no, this kid ain't ready. He's like, you know, we'll bring him in on loan. He's, you know, we could end up blowing our title hopes here, you know what I mean? If we throw this kid in and he melts pressure, could end up like ruining everything." So fair play to him, you know. I had Bob Wilson sort of as a goalie coach, and he was brilliant. He pushed me, you know. He was always, he'd be in the gaffer's ear hole, play him. You got to play him. He's good enough. Play him. It was fantastic for me to have someone on my side like that, and to be fair to us. As much as you can have a coach like that pushing you, the manager's got to believe and have enough belief to give you a go, you know. And to be fair, they threw me in, and like I say, I sort of I played and I done well, you know. So it was, but it is it's tough, you know what I mean. You sort of like you've got to deal with that, but you sort of you then move on, and I did. I thought, right, I'm going to move on. I'm going to play now. I want to play. I've had that like that little glimpse of playing. Like I want, you know, I want more. And you move on and you think it's going to happen, but then you end up on the bench. But then I think because that happened to me, getting thrown in from third choice, you learn to just, you've got to keep going. You've got to keep going. You've got to switch on. And I always found that sounds a really strange thing to say, really strange. It'd be weird, you know, if other goalkeepers were sort of listening or whatever, it'd be interesting to hear like their perspective. I was always more nervous sitting on the bench than if I was when I played.
Okay.
And it's because I think when you're playing, you're out there, you know you're playing. Whereas on the bench, anything can happen at any time. Like the ball near the goalie for crossing, is he going to get smashed?
Yeah.
You know, is he going to get rattled? And then I've got to get myself sorted and I'm on. You know what I mean? Like, because same with an outfield player, you can take your time to come on, you know, or they might go, right, get yourself warmed up.
Yeah.
We're thinking of, you know, and then like you prepare for it. Whereas as a
Yeah,
goalie, if they, it's literally you're on. You know what I mean? You've got no time to really think about it. And I just think, as a goalie, I was always nervous sitting on the bench. Like it was worse sitting on the bench than it was when you was actually starting the game. But yeah, I found it mentally draining, sort of being on rather than sort of playing. But I should have, you know, I sort of I look back and I should have played loads. And like you say, people that have played with me, trained with me, know about me as a goalkeeper. Like most people do say, they say, sort of, you know, you should have played a lot more. But I wanted to play at the highest level, you know, and I felt like I had the ability to play at the highest level. And maybe it's probably been in my downfall, but I wanted to do everything I could to play at that top level, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to drop down. I was like, I feel like I'm good enough to play at the top level, and I'm going to keep going and going and going until I get that play at the top level. And you know, like I say, I think because people sort of knew I was a decent goalkeeper, I kept getting, like you say, clubs would sign me, you know what I mean? Clubs would take me. But, you know, the further on it went, I sort of, from Aston Villa, where I just didn't get the opportunities which I was told I was going to get when I went there, which that was probably, looking back, was probably the worst move of my career, because, you know, at a time where I was coming off a high, being at Arsenal, sort of, where you're involved with like winning FA Cups, Premier Leagues and all that, and you sort of think, right, I'm there, I'll go to with no disrespect, but obviously at the time, Arsenal, Man United were the top two clubs at the time. And I thought, right, I'm going to go to Aston Villa. It's still a massive, massive club. It's a huge club. But I thought, it's a little bit of a drop down. I thought, right, I want to get in there. I want to go there. I want to play and make a name for myself. And like I say, it just didn't materialise. So it was, you know, I made that choice because of what I was hearing. And that's the thing about football, you know, you get told a lot of things what people think you want to hear, you know, and that is the case with football. A lot of people just tell you things, and brilliant, and it sucks you in. And you think, right, I'm going, and I did. I got told, you know, you're going to get chances to play, and I was thinking, right, let's go. I don't care where it is. I'm going. Get told I'm going to play. I'm going. You make that move, like you say, you upend your family. You go there, and it didn't materialise. But that's football. And then, like I say, I moved on again. Went to Man City after that, and I was number 2 behind Shay Given, and that geezer was just like the bionic man. It was just like his leg would be like hanging off, and he'd still play. It was incredible, mate. I've never known a fella that just would play. And you know, in football, sometimes there's cup games, and the manager will play his like so-called second string 11. You know what I mean? So when I was behind Shay Given, I was thinking, right, cup games have come round. I'll get me going in a cup game. I remember standing there, and the manager went up to Shay Given and was like, right, Shay, obviously you can have a rest for this cup. And he was like, no, I want to play. I want to play.
Wow.
And it's testament to the professional that he was. And, you know, like you learn a lot going, like, as you go through. And he was like, you never, ever give anyone a chance to play. He said, because if they play well, he said, that could be you out the door. And it's true, you know, and that's what he said. He went, you know, he said, if I'm given the opportunity to play every single game, I don't care where it is, he said, I'm playing. He said, because I ain't giving anyone a chance to sort of take my place. And it's true, you know. And like you say, he said it to me, you know what I mean? He was like, no, I'm not giving anyone no opportunity to play. I mean, unless I'm like literally cannot get myself out on that pitch, I'm playing. And the thing is, that's what managers want. That's what they want. Someone that is going to be out there week in, week out, and they play for injuries. And as much as that's another thing people don't see, you know, like they're professional football, it's easy. But, you know, if a manager, it's the same with that. If you're one of the manager's top players, they're going to expect you to want to play. And sometimes managers can put pressure on you. You'll be like, oh, it ain't right. They'll be like, well, you know, I want you out there, you know, you get yourself straight, get yourself out there. there are a lot of things that the average person don't see in the game as well, you know.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
no, yeah, I've been, like you say, I enjoyed my career. I loved everything about it, but obviously the playing side of it, it was tough to take. You know what I mean? Because you're always thinking, I'll get that chance, and when I do, I'll take it. Just don't always materialise, you know. But yeah, it's one of them things, you know. Maybe if I was to be able to do it all again, maybe I would do things slightly different. But yeah,
it's easy to look back though, ain't it? Like hindsight, but it's like one of them. When the opportunity came to go to Villa, and then people are saying like getting in your head saying, yeah, you're going to play and blah blah blah. If you'd have stayed at Arsenal, things may not have gone well, and then it could be a case where you're thinking, well, I wish I'd gone to Villa. So unless you go, you wouldn't know anyway. It's like anything, isn't it?
Exactly, mate. Exactly, and that's and that, exactly what you're saying. You weigh up what you're being told, and when you're that desperate to sort of play football, which I was, you know, it's a great club, and you just think, right, I'm going for it. I'll give it a go. You know, like what I said earlier, I always believe in my ability. I believe in myself, and I thought, right, I'll go and I'll play. But sometimes it is that your face don't fit. Sometimes people will tell you what you want to hear to just get you there. Maybe they might have thought that. They might have thought that in the first place. They might have thought, look, we need a number 2. He's not going to play, but we'll tell him what we want him to hear to get him in here. You know what I mean? Because we want to do a goalkeeper. So maybe that is the case. But it's football's it's tough. It's a tough game, and it is like mentally very, very straining. But it's that's the way the game is, you know, and you just got to deal with it.
That's it. We are lucky though. It's obviously we've been through that process. We've been involved in it. So lucky to be athletes. Sometimes we don't kind of see it that way, but I think we are. Obviously, many people don't have the opportunity. So from that perspective, we are lucky. But just to go back to kind of obviously where you started. So you started at Arsenal. What was it like working with Wenger and people like Bob Wilson, and obviously the squad at that time, Henry, Petit, Vieira? Ridiculous. Must have been buzzing like every day going in as a youngster. You must have been
mate, incredible. Like so, I've been fortunate like throughout my career. You know, to start off at Arsenal and be with that squad of players. You know, like I was there initially when you had sort of Tony Adams, Nigel Winterburn, Lee Dixon, Steve Bold, all the sort of older generation, which were just unbelievable to see that going on. And then obviously you had, when Arsene Wenger come in, you had the sort of your Patrick Vieira's, your Thierry Henry's, your Petits, Overmars, that the list can go on and on and on. But obviously you're working with them sort of players day in, day out. It was fantastic, you know what I mean? It was brilliant. And I had the goalkeepers that were there as well, you know. I had sort of like David Seaman, which at the time, he was possibly the best goalkeeper in the world at the time.
Yeah.
And sort of you're training with people like that. And also there was a goalkeeper there, John Lukage, who, you know, he was a legend, you know. He was unbelievable. For me personally, he helped me massively, like along with Bob Wilson. He'd sort of stay out on the training pitch with me and sort of do stuff with me after sessions, and because I think he was like the same sort of build as me, quite long and gangly, and he knew what it was like to be sort of my shape and size, and when you're my shape and size, you have a lot of balance problems as a goalkeeper, so you tend to lean back and whatever else. And he worked with me after training on all my balance, and he was brilliant. He was fantastic for me. But like you say, just being around them sort of players day in, day out was brilliant. And they was all winners. You know what I mean? Thierry Henry was the loveliest fella off the pitch, but on the pitch, he wanted to win at all costs, and he could be quite aggressive, quite a fiery character, and like, but it was what it was, you know. If you was on his team and you was in goal and you're letting goals in, he's going to get the ump with you, and he's going to be shouting and screaming at you, and that's another thing, you know. You'd have seen it in training sessions where you'll have certain players that that'll hammer lads. You know, they'll
Yeah.
hammer like young kids coming through,
Mm.
and you've got to be able to take that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can't take that. Like you say, you sort of melt away. You go into your shell, and sort of you end up sort of like crumbling away. But it's you've got to stand up to that. But he was a winner. He'd hammer you, but it was all because he wanted to win. He sort of every training session, his team had to win. You know what I mean? If he didn't win, he was raging, absolutely raging. But like you say, that I suppose that is sort of the character of like it's a winning mentality, isn't it? You know, it's the sort of it's and they are the sort of the best players, aren't they? You know, all players with that sort of mentality, they're normally the best ones. You know, the ones that sort of they want to win at sort of any cost. You know what I mean? So, but it was good. It was good growing up with all sort of players like that, and then I was fortunate enough to sort of end up going to sort of Man City, where you know, the same with them. You know, it was like obviously the money was coming into that club, and like some of the players that were there were unbelievable, and it was, you know, it's, you know, seeing the work ethic of some people, like what they do and the way they live their lives and things like that. You know, everyone's different, and it's good to see the ways. Like you say, you'll have some characters that are larger than life in the game. You'll have some that are quite quiet, go in, do their work, and go on. Don't really say a lot. So you see all like opposite ends of the scale. You know what I mean? But it's good to sort of. I've been really fortunate to sort of work with like some of the players that I've been with and sort of see the way they work and put myself against them as well. You know, you sort of to put yourself against them in training and to see how you come up against them. You obviously judge yourself by that, and yeah, it's nice. Like I say, I've enjoyed every minute of it. You know, every minute of it. But just obviously the playing, like the playing side of it.
Yeah.
That's obviously the side that you look back and you're a little bit sort of upset by it. But like we've said, sometimes there's just not a lot you can do about it. You just got to deal with it. And if you don't get them opportunities, then that's the way it is, you know.
That's it. Out of all the clubs you played for, where would you say you enjoyed it the most? Would it be Arsenal or Man City or?
As in terms of playing time, obviously being at Arsenal when I was a young lad and sort of getting to play a few seasons, like 10 games, sort of a couple of seasons. I think I made, I don't know, 32 appearances or whatever it was in my time at Arsenal. And that was a fantastic time for me as in terms of being on the pitch and playing and being around great players. But for me, I was probably too young to appreciate how good it actually was. Do you know what I mean? I'd have loved to have had that time at Arsenal when I was sort of 25, 26. I think because you appreciate it a lot more. And you know, like, I think off the pitch, you could be involved with the players a little bit more as well. You know, I was like a little kid in a dressing room full of men. And, you know, off the field stuff, you can't really get involved because you're sort of a kid. And I suppose, like, you know, they're World Cup winners. They don't really want to mix with like an 18, 19-year-old, you know what I mean? Sort of the no one. But it's don't get me wrong, all the players sort of speak to you and they're all friendly and it's just like normal chit chat. But off the side, off the pitch, I suppose you didn't have that enjoyment like I did at other clubs as I got older. So probably Man City was probably the best for me, you know, as in terms of the team that I was working with. Off the field, we had a great bunch of lads. The whole team were fantastic. You know, the foreign lads got involved off the pitch. We'd go out for meals and go out, team together. And then not only like you'd have times where the whole team would go out together. We had a group of players like the English lads, me, Joe Hart, Gareth Barry, James Milner, Adam Johnson. Who else was there? And then I'm trying to think who else was with us at the time. I think there was about 5 or 6 of us, but like we were together quite a lot, and it was just a brilliant time, you know what I mean? And obviously, Man City won the league for the first time in years and years, 2012, 2013, whenever it was the first time I'd won the league for however many years, and it was just a fantastic time, and I think I appreciated it more, you know, like being there with a great group of lads, enjoying it on the pitch and off the pitch. It was just a good time for me to sort of be in football. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Massive. Throughout your career, you represented England. So you played for England in the 16s up to under 21 level. So how did it feel, obviously, playing for England, putting on the shirt, and obviously just representing your country across the highest level that you can, basically?
I was just going to say, there's nothing better, is there? Representing your country, it's, you know, well, there's nothing better. That's the ultimate for me. You know what I mean? Was sort of to play for your country is the best thing you can possibly do. But it's the same with that. You know, it's I think I only played a couple of times for the 21s, but I had goalkeepers like I have all my career. I've had fantastic goalkeepers in front of me. So at the time, I think Paul Robinson was playing week in, week out for Leeds. And then I think Kirkland was playing week in, week out for Liverpool. Yeah. So it was me, him, and Robbo that were in the squad. What chance really have you got? Sort of if I'm on the bench for Arsenal, and then week in, week out for Liverpool and Leeds, what chance you got? You've got no chance. And it's pretty the story of my life, really. It's you know, behind David Seaman and then Jens Lehmann, and then I went to Aston Villa, and I was behind Thomas Sorensen, who was the Danish number one. And then when he left, it was Brad Friedel come in, and obviously he's probably one of the best performers in the Premier League, sort of for years and years. You know, he was an incredible professional, and he was a fantastic keeper. From there, Man City, I was behind Shay Given, Ireland's number one. He then went, well, he didn't go. They brought Joe Hart back in, who was then England's number one. Yeah. So you then beat him. And then where did I go from there? I went to Reading from there. That was another one. I went from Man City, offered me another year to stay, and to be honest, my wife wanted to come home. She was finding it hard. So we obviously with 3 children, and we'd lived away from home for sort of 7 years, obviously with no family and that about. So she brought up like twins pretty much on her own, and it was so she was a bit like, right, I'd like to go home. So I was in the process then of thinking, do I stay on my own, have another year? But like my wife was a bit like, you know, I don't really want you up there on your own. You know what it's like being a footballer. It's like it's hard for wife, you know what I mean, to sort of be at home on her own and be up there on your own. So it was made the decision to come back, and then I went to Reading, and obviously they had Adam Federici, who was an Australian international goalie, and they had Alex McCarthy, and it's another one. I went there thinking I'll get games, and you don't get games. Yeah. Then I went to Leeds, and that was the one where I thought, right, I'll play here. Didn't materialise because of like sort of the chairman and his Italian links and all that. And then obviously that was when it ended up being, you're just a third choice goalkeeper now. I was getting older, and like I said, I made the move to Southampton knowing fully well what it was. You know what I mean? It was a third choice. But every other club I went to, you want to play. But at the end of the day, if you've got unbelievable goalies in front of you, there's not a lot you can do, you know. You're waiting for that opportunity, and then you think, I believe I'm good enough to take it if it comes around. And 9 times out of 10, it did.
Yeah, it's a tough one, frustrating. I touched on it earlier. Obviously, we met at FA National School, which is now defunct. Basically, Lilleshall National School was 2-year scholarship, best 16 players in the country between the ages of 14 to 16. So, how did you find your time at Lilleshall? I mean, I've got a daughter now. She's 11, and she's, to me, just a little girl. Now, a few years after that, we were leaving home and to live there for 2 years. So you had to fend for yourself. And at the time, you probably didn't really realise how big that was. So how did
massive step. that was a massive step. Like, but I can remember getting that letter through the door saying that you'd been accepted, and I was like, I'm going, because I mean, like when we went there for trials and all that, and you stay, and I loved it. I was like, this is brilliant, and I was just like, kid, you just want to play football, didn't you? And you think we're going to be with the best in the country. My mum was a bit gutted, I think, because like she was a bit like, well, you didn't even have to think about that. It was a little bit like, right, I'm still like, mum, still like, dad, I'm going. You know what I mean? But it was, I think I loved my time there. I thought it was brilliant. I struggled the first year because I was injured. I don't know if you remember, I'd fractured my back, and I was pretty much the whole first year. And that's tough because obviously you're not doing what you want to be doing, playing the football. I was literally watching youth training every day. And I was going to school there, which was hard. But what I would say, I think it set you up for the football side of it. You know what I mean? Like what was to come. You know, like when clubs come around and sort of it was like, right, got to move home. It was the norm for us. You know what I mean? We done it from 14, moved out of our home and went to stay somewhere. And you just got to learn sort of not fend for yourself, because we didn't fend for ourselves at 14, but you just got to learn to. Like, you just grow up a little bit quicker, didn't you? You know, and it was. I loved it. Apart from being injured the first year, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic phase of your life. And it is a shame now that they've shut it down, because pretty much when they shut it down, players started to sort of come through. Like, a lot more players started to sort of see it more popping out. But you know, it is what it is. But what you enjoyed the time there, mate?
I loved it. To be fair, some bits were hard. I think a lot of players found it a lot harder than I did, being away from home and stuff. What I found hard was, I was always obviously in your area. So you've got your school, and then you've got the team you play for. So I was at Forest at the time, and you were, I think, Arsenal. And then you've got your county side and whatever else. And I was always the best, or one of the best. And then when I went to Lillishall, it was like a massive step up, because we had people like Scott Parker, Francis Jeffers, yourself, just Kevin Nicholson. Everyone was a lot more physical than I was. I was tiny. I'm still small now. I've grown, but I mean, you were 6'4" at that age, and I was just like, what is this? I was like 4'11" or something. So I'm like, and everyone, not everyone, but there was a group of players within our team who their football know-how was just ridiculous in terms of like movement, dropping off, talking on the pitch. For me, I just used to use the pace before. It's just like running behind or get the ball, take everyone on and score. I didn't really have any football understanding, so I had to step my game up. And that side of it, I found a little bit quite hard to deal with initially, just because I was always used to being the best and playing every week. And then, as you know, we were training every day, which was great anyway. And training we got was on a different level. It was ahead of its time. But in terms of game understanding, it was like being at school initially for me, because I had to listen more and understand more and know when to run and to run for other people as well. Just different. Whereas people like Scott Parker and Granny Jeffers and that, they already had that understanding, just a different level. But, I mean, I loved it. And then, it's just one of them. Like, I was injured towards the back end of it. I had a hairline fracture in my back, so I think I missed the last 6 months or something. So that was quite tough. But I enjoyed my time there, and obviously met some good friends, and we keep talking about a reunion and stuff.
I know, it's been going on, mate, isn't it? It has been going on a little bit. It's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard because, I mean, obviously aside from the lockdown, because it was meant to be this summer. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but obviously everyone's around everywhere, the whole country, and scattered around, and everyone's got families. So to stamp down a time where everyone can to meet and that is difficult.
It's so hard, isn't it? Like you say, to try and get a time and a date where all sort of 16 of us are about and able to meet. It's nigh on impossible, but hopefully, like you say, fingers crossed, we'll be able to sort something out and all have a catch up, because it'd be brilliant to sort of see everyone again. You know, because it's been a long time. Like I say, what is it, sort of 22 years or whatever it is, 23 years.
Yeah, we've got to do it, mate. We've got to do it because everyone. I mean, I've seen a few pictures of how people are looking and that hairlines back here and stuff. It's crazy, mate. It's crazy. But
I'm holding on to it for dear life, me, mate.
you've done well, to be fair. You've done well, mate. Just to touch back, we're gonna kind of close up soon, but just to touch back on retirement. Obviously, you've explained your process, and obviously you've done really well because you've got your own business and stuff. What did you take from football in terms of like the transferable skills? What did you take from football to aid you into obviously coaching and the process that you had to take to set it up? Because I know, like for me, athletes are generally resilient, good timekeepers, they're coachable. So, I mean, what did you take from your time in football?
Well, I had to be persistent for one, to just keep going and going and going until it sort of ended up sort of happening, you know. And like you say, sort of with football, I had to be that, you know what I mean, to keep sort of going and going until that chance come around. But yeah, that it's like, innit, you just like how you sort of treat people, you know. In football, you come across a lot of different characters, and you have to know how to sort of, you know, sort of speak with people and communicate with people, because I think you can't just treat everyone the same, you know, because everyone's different. Everyone has, you know, different mindsets, different everything. And, you know, like it's the same with kids. You know, you've got to know how to, the way I speak to one kid and explain to one child how to do something, I might have to do it differently with another child. And it's I think communication's a massive one, you know. It's same with the parents. You've got to communicate, you've got to speak with the parents. It's I do think that is a massive one that you learn in football. It's like you say, you do need them communication skills. I think you need them on the pitch. I think you need them off the pitch. And it's something, like you say, when you're playing, when you've got your teammates, you need to get along. You're not going to get along with everyone. That's football. Like you say, there's so many different characters. But as much as you're not going to be best mates with them, you've got to find a way of getting along with them, because you've got to work together. You know what I mean? On the pitch, and you've got to make it happen. And I just think communicating is a massive one for me. And like you say, it's just being sort of persistent with just keep going until it sort of comes right. You know what I mean? But no, you learn so much. Like you say, you learn so much through football. And there's like you say, there's so many things that you could probably sort of say I've took that and it's helped me along the way. But you know, I'd say they're probably the sort of the main two that, like you say, it's that persistence, that drive to just keep going, and belief, I suppose. The belief to sort of think it will happen. You know what I mean? Not being too negative about it, being quite positive. However much at the time you might think, oh, this ain't happening. Just keep going. It'll come. Yeah. And that's they're probably the three main ones that I'd sort of say.
Nice. And what's the name of the company, and where can we find you?
It's Stuart Taylor Goalkeeping Academy, so it's sort of stgka.co.uk, I think it is. I'm useless with all the social media stuff. I'm terrible, mate. I always have my missus the same with Instagram. I think it's Stuart Taylor GKA, and my missus is always like, "You got to put more posts on. You got to put more posts." I'm useless. It's not for me. I'm one of them. I want to go out. I want to train. I want to teach kids how to play and goal. I'm not really into all social media stuff, but it's something that these days you've got to do it, ain't you? You know, it's
you have to let people know you're out there, mate. I mean, I'm late on the scene with social media. I've only just started using Instagram, to be fair, and I've got friends and that who have been on it for years and years from day one. So yeah, I'm miles behind from that perspective, anyway. I mean, cheers for your time today, Stu.
No worries.
Catch up on that. Hopefully see you again soon. All I can say to everyone else out there is, obviously, if you're looking to get into any type of goalkeeper coaching, or you want to be a goalkeeper, have a word with yourself. I mean, if I was a kid, I'd love to be coached by yourself, just because of obviously your knowledge and how good you were as a keeper anyway. But yeah, like I said, thanks for today. Good luck in obviously going forward with the company. Hopefully catch you soon, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, it'd be nice to hopefully if we can sort this reunion out, mate. It'd be nice to see everyone yourself, mate. But, nice to speak to you, mate.
No worries. All the best, mate. See you soon.
You, mate. Look after
You
yourself,
bet.
Dan. See you, mate.
You too.